Welcome to Shatter Our Souls Novaria. Today we are tackling the Mushroom Cup Mirror Mode Challenge. Of course, without the use of items. And of course, we're going to be starting off with Mushroom Bridge. And if I'm being honest, Mushroom Bridge is one of those tracks that I like, but it's not one that I would necessarily say is the greatest out there. I would rank it probably third in this particular cup. There's enough going on that running it without the use of items while potentially challenging, dodging traffic, and just trying to kind of keep yourself mobile and avoiding as many problems as possible is what sets this particular track apart from its contemporaries, shall we say. This track is normally one that you love it or hate it, you need to understand it to be able to get a good start on the Flower Cup. And as a result, it's one that I get a fair bit of practice on. But this track also is the track that opened the door to ultra shortcuts in speedrunning in Mario Kart Double Dash. So while it's not necessarily a perfect track by any means, it is one that holds a lot of significance and value to Mario Kart Double Dash and its general people and players over the course of the last 20 years. Thus, I think it definitely deserves to be well above the weakest track in the entire game. Personally, putting it at third place within the Flower Cup is because there's one track I think does a little bit weaker, but Flower Cup is actually a really stacked cup, favored more towards the back. And if you're picking up what I'm putting down, then you know that coming in last place for this cup is Mario Circuit. My personal belief on Mario Circuit is that it is a very decent track, but it's also incredibly wide for over half of it, meaning that there's not a whole lot of opportunity for the track to really throw the player a loop. Its challenge lies primarily in not its layout or anything of that nature, but in the obstacles that are placed, specifically the mushrooms near the end, the gooms if you will, as the Goombas are mobile a mobile obstacle that really test the player's ability to act on the fly. All other challenges and obstacles within the track are everyday obstacles. You have a chain chomp, you have a couple of piranha plants, just stay away from the edge. And so for that reason, I've put this track as low as it is. Now, if I'm being honest, this is the type of track that I feel defines Mario Kart. This is the type of track that really showcases that this is a Mario world we're playing in, and not just another oddball one-off area. So, I do think that has a lot to do with my personal opinions of it, but I dare say it is as it is. But with 3 laps down, that leaves 2 tracks remaining, and we know what those 2 are: Daisy Cruiser and Waluigi Stadium. And if I'm being honest, these are 2 of the tracks that I personally hold in very high regard. They are very fun, very energetic courses that really throw the player in all sorts of wild and wacky situations. Coming in first place, in my opinion, is Daisy Cruiser. Daisy Cruiser is that track that always sets itself apart for me. It's crazy, it has a couple of weird choke points throughout it that are great for item use, specifically bananas, or fake item boxes. And that's already a impressive thing to say, that there are places that are identifiably good locations for item use. Couple that with the fact that the track itself is swaying one side and another, means that the boat's tables in the dining room travel and slosh side to side as they all are along with the track itself, meaning that you yourself are at the whims of the mobile obstacles. You have tight corridors, you have hidden passages, you have a water feature on a boat. And so I've always felt that Daisy Cruiser is one of the more iconic tracks as a direct result of what it is and what it tries to accomplish. Even if it is, shall we say, one that has fewer knock you around type obstacles compared to others. But why Daisy Cruiser of all tracks? Why is this the best? It comes down to atmosphere. There are some tracks like Waluigi Stadium that I've always felt do the gameplay well, but the atmosphere just doesn't match anything that I feel fits Mario. Mario's meant to be, in my opinion, sunny and bright. It's meant to be the type of game that you turn to because it's enjoyable, not the type of game you turn to for dark lore and extreme circumstances. It's something that is happy-go-lucky. And I feel like Daisy Cruiser actually encapsulates that perfectly. But here we are. We have one track left. We already know it's number 2 on my personal opinions of the Flower Cup. Last track of today is Waluigi Stadium. And as long as we come in 6th or higher, we win. So hooray. Waluigi Stadium is one of those tracks that growing up was by far one of my favorites, barring some of the really heavy hitters like Wario Stadium or Wario's Coliseum. There we go. Waluigi Stadium always felt like one of the best. It's all over the place. You have jumps, you have mud pits, you have flame bars. Its design was based a lot around the rallies of like monster trucks, but in a way that makes sense for a Mario Kart track. The flame bars borrowed from Bowser's Castle, loops, you name it, all tie into this chaotic mess of a track that is intended to be very much a spectacle race. Boosts that throw you over top of the track are intentional and thrown throughout just because they can. This is, in my opinion, the pinnacle of do it cause you can type track. And as a result, I think Waluigi Stadium actually ends up being one of the more fun tracks to drive because of all the little circumstances and situations that you have to be aware of and avoid throughout the track, knowing full well that if you don't, you're probably not getting a very good placement. Speaking of good placement, that was expertly placed mystery box. We're on the last lap and somehow they ended up getting roasty toasty, so we're starting the final lap in first place. Now, I have to say that coming back to this as an adult, I definitely feel like Mario Kart is not as difficult as I once remember it being. I remember a lot of the Mario Kart tracks as a child and even as a teenager being fairly difficult. And coming back at it as an adult with trying to avoid using items altogether showcases, I think, a lot of the flaws in the game, as well as the fact that very limited flaws, but also showcases the fact that Over time, the player develops skill, and these skills really showcase near the later years after the game has kind of seen its due. Anywho, we are at the end of the Flower Cup. We get ourselves that lovely golden trophy. You know what comes next? The only set of courses outside of the All Cup Tour left to be discussed, the Star Cup. So, tune in next Wednesday and we'll go through that cup before ultimately making our way through the entirety of the All Cup Tour in one sitting. It's gonna be a big one. So be sure to drop in. Until then, like the video, subscribe to the page, and have a good one.